before we do our trimming, it's a good idea to take our bone folder and rub our edge to make sure we get a good bond all the way around. I'm using my square and a scratch awl to mark the height of my gusset. Now I can take a shears and cut that off. Now we'll do the same thing to the other side. We're now ready to start stitching the front part to the gusset, so I'll use a stitching awl and very carefully punch a hole straight through, going through the holes that we pre-punched earlier. Well, I've finished stitching all the way around the front to the gusset. Now it's time to attach the gusset to the back part, and while we were stitching, our gusset dried out some, so I'll take my sponge and dampen the edge a little bit, and then we'll wait a few moments for it to soak in. Since I have applied some finish to this side of the back, I'll take a fine sandpaper and sand along the edge here where I'm going to glue the gusset. This will cause it to hold better. While I'm waiting for my gusset to dry a little bit, I can apply cement to the stitch line here. And once again, I'm using the Craftsman contact cement. You need to use a solvent-based cement because we are going to be applying cement to the gusset that's still damp. So it's important to use a solvent-based cement because it will stick a lot better. Going to be careful putting our cement here where the tab is because we want to get it on the glue line, but we do not want to go past that area. And now we will apply glue to the gusset as we did when we cemented it to the front. Just like I did before, I have my mark here in the center of the back and one in the center of the gusset, so I will match up those marks and then we can adhere this to the back. Here again, make sure when we get over to this corner that we get it positioned properly. And We'll do the same thing on the other side, being careful now because we don't have an edge here, but we got to get it positioned properly. And as we did before, once we get it positioned, we can come back with our bone folder and make sure we get a good tight bond. And now we can take our awl, stab our holes, and stitch the gusset to the back part. After we have done all of our stitching of the front and the back to the gusset, then it's time to finish the edges that we just stitched. Of course, we'll first take our edge beveler and bevel all of the edges. After I have used my edge beveler on these edges, I'll take some lightweight sandpaper and I will sand all of these edges to remove all of the glue that has squeezed out onto there. I like to use about a 200 or 400 grit wet dry sandpaper, seems to work the best. After we have smoothed the edges to our satisfaction, we can then take a sponge, dampen the edge, allow it to sit for a few moments, and then use the slicker to smooth it. Now, the nice thing like about this slicker is it's got different sizes. Here, since we've got several thicknesses of leather, we'll use one of the larger sizes and it'll be just right. So now we will smooth all of the edges and then we will paint them with the edge coat as we did before. Now we will set some grommets in the holes that we punched earlier, and this is primarily to strengthen these where they'll be tied down to the saddle. Put it on the anvil, put it through the leather, put the washer in place, and then with the proper setter we just strike it, as you can see, and our grommet is in place, ready to go. We will now install the flap, and please note that I have already pre-punched it with my punch, and I will now take my awl and scribe a line. Now we will apply cement to this and to the flap and glue it into place. I have cemented my flap into place, and now I will take my awl and go through these holes as we did before, through the back part, and then we'll stitch it in place. Now that I have finished stitching the flaps in place, we will now take the connector strap, and I have sanded it lightly here and applied some glue, and I'll overlap these about 3/8 of an inch, and now we will just punch it and stitch it. With the completion of our connector strap being stitched in place, our bags are now finished and ready to use.